We are now going to be doing the Chapter 4 test review check. Number 1, find 27,300 divided by 325. So first we're going to look. 325 can't go into 2, can't go into 27, it can't go into 273, but it can go into 2,730. So now we need to see how many times 325 can go into 2,730. Because my options all have an 8 in the tens place, I know that it has to be 8. So I'm going to do 325 times 8. So 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 2 is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then 8 times 3 is 24, 25, 26. So I get 2,600. So I'm going to subtract 2,600 from 2,730. So 2 minus 2 is 0. I get a 1, 3, 0, and then I also need to bring down my 0. Now, I need to see how many times 325 can go into 1,300. So I know 325 times 8 gives me 2,600. So I know I have to go lower than 8. I'm going to start with 4. So 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, 9, 10. And then I get 4 times 3 is 12, 13. So I do get 1,300. Also, if I look, so 325 times 8 is 2,600, and 325 times 4 is 1,300. So 4 is half of 8, and 1,300 is half of 2,600, sorry. So that's how that can even give you a hint of what number you would have to go to see how many times 325 can go into 1,300. So I know it's times 4. I'm going to subtract 1,300, and I get 0. So 84 is my correct answer. Number 2. Tell which sentence is the best estimate, so I underlined this twice because we're trying to find the estimate, for 200 divided by 26. I'm going to draw my arrows down because I know I need to bring these down to estimate these. So 200, I'm going to keep the same because it is rounded to the nearest 100. Now, I need to see what could I round 26 to so that I could go into 200 evenly. So if I look at my options over here, I have A, 200 divided by 20 equals 10. B, 200 divided by 40 equals 5. C, 200 divided by 25 equals 8. And D, 250 divided by 25 is 10. Well, I'm going to see which ones I can cross out, maybe to make this a little easier for me. So 200 divided by 20. So that could be it because 200 are the same and 20 and 26 are pretty close. So I'm going to keep that. 200 is good, but 40 and 26 are kind of too far apart. So I'm going to cross that off because I know it can't be that. C, 200 divided by 25 equals 8. That also could work because 200 and 200 and 25 is close to 26. D, 250 divided by 25. So 250 and 200 are still kind of far apart, and we know we want to keep this 200 because we want it round to the nearest 100. But 25 and 26 are pretty close, but because of this 250, I'm going to cross it off. Now, I'm also going to look again back at my two options. 200 divided by 20. So 20 and 26 are too far apart, in my opinion. So I'm going to try to see if this does go evenly, and in fact, if I do get 8. So 200 divided by 25. So if I think about money, in $1 there are 4 quarters, and 4 quarters equals $1, and 1 quarter is 25 cents. So if I do 25 times 4, I get 100. If I double this number to 8, so 25 times 8, so I get 40, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I do in fact get 200. So 25 200 divided by 25 is 8. So my answer would be C. Number 3. Dorian has 1 hundreds block and 5 tens rods. How many tens rods does he have altogether? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a picture to go with this. So if I have a hundreds block, I know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know there are 10 rods in a hundreds block. But I also know that he also had 5 tens rods. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are trying to find out how many 10 rods does he have altogether. So if I have 10 here, and I also have 5 here, he will have a total of 15 10 rods. So B would be my correct answer. Number 4, find 745 divided by 30. So I'm going to set up my division problem. 30 cannot go into 7, but it can go into 74 2 times, because I know that 30 times 2 is 60. So I'm going to subtract 60 from 74, and I get 14. Then I'm going to bring down my 5, and I'm going to see how many times can 30 go into 145. So I know 30 times 2 is 60. So I'm going to try 30 times 4. And I get a number of 120. I'm also going to try 30 times 5, just to double check. And I get an answer of 150. So 120 is going to be closest to 145 without going over. So I'm going to subtract 120 from 145, and I get an answer of 25. So 24 remainder 25 is my correct answer. So that would be B. Number 5, find 1008 divided by 52. So I'm going to set up my division problem. So 1008 divided by 52. So I know that 52 can't go into 1, it can't go into 10, but it can go into 100. So if we look over here, we can see what number we may have to start with. So we could start with 2, but I know that 50 times 2 is 100. So if it's 52 times 2, that's going to be more than 100. So I know it can't be A. So I'm going to have to start with a 1, 52 times 1. So I'm going to, 52 times 1 is 52, so I'm going to subtract. And I know I have to borrow to make sure my numbers are larger on the top. So 9 minus 5 is 4, and 10 minus 2 is 8. I'm also going to bring down my other 8 because I need to make sure my place value is lined up. 52 times, and as I can see, in my ones place are 9s, so I know it's going to be times 9. So 9 times 2 is 18, 9 times 5 is 45, 46. So I'm going to subtract 468 from 488, and I get an answer of 20. So 19 remainder 20 isn't the correct answer, so that is D. Now for the next page. Number 6. Find 90,000 divided by 45. So over here, I'm going to set up my problem. 90,000 divided by 45. I know that 45 can't go into 9, but I know that 45 can go into 90. I just have to see how many times. So if I look over here, I know it has to be 2 times, just because there's a 2 in the first number right here. So 45 times 2. So if I do 45 times 2, I'm going to check. I do in fact get 90. So I'm going to subtract 90, and I get 0. Instead of going and bringing these down and putting zeros, I know that I can just take these 3 zeros and just tack them onto the top. And I know my answer now would be A, 2,000. So 90,000 divided by 45 is 2,000. Number 7, tell which sentence is the best estimate for 769 divided by 19. So again, I'm going to be estimating. I'm going to draw my arrows down here. So I'm going to be changing both numbers this time. So if I look, I have A, 700 divided by 25 equals 28. I have B, 720 divided by 20 equals 36. And C, 770 divided by 10 equals 77. D, 800 divided by 20 equals 40. So now I'm going to look at my options to see if I can get rid of anything to make this a little bit easier on myself. So A, I have 700, so 700 and 769, they are in the same, they both are 700s, but 700 is a little too far from 769, and 25 and 19, that wouldn't be the nearest 10 that I would round it to. It's actually the nearest, it's a little too far. So what I would do is I'm just going to cross that one off. I know that can't be it. So I want to round this to my nearest 10. So 720 divided by 20. So I know that 720 is a little too far from 769, so I know that can't be it either. But 20 is fine. So I know that maybe I could look for 20 to be rounded to for 19. C, 770 divided by 10. So 770 is close to 769. However, 10 is a little too far from 19. So I know that probably won't be my answer either. So it looks like it's going to be D as my answer, but let's double check. So if I have round 769 to the nearest 100, which is 800, and round 9 to the nearest 10, which is 20. Then I know in division, I can cross off a 0 and cross off 1 0. However many zeros over here, I can cross off over here. So now I'm going to see how many times 2 can go into 8. 2 can go into 8 4 times, and then add on my other 0, so 40. So in fact, D is my correct answer. 8. Margot has 6 10 rods and 4 1s cubes. How many 1s cubes does she have altogether? So I have 6 10 rods, 4 1 cubes, and we're finding out how many 1s cubes does she have altogether. So I know that if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 10 rods plus, I'm just going to draw little dots here, 4. So 6 and 4. Now, I also know that in each 10 rod there are 10 1s. So this is a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. So I have 60 altogether with my 10 rods, plus I have 4 1s. So together, I will have 64 1s. So my answer will be A. Number 9, find 720 divided by 45. So I'm going to set up my division problem, 720 divided by 45. I know that 45 can't go into 7, but it can go into 72. It can go into 72 one time, because I know if I times it by 2, it's going to be too large. So I'm going to subtract 45 from 72. And then I need to borrow. So 12 minus 5 is 7, 1, and I'm going to bring down my 0. 2. I'm so sorry. 2. All right. Now, I need to see how many times 45 can go into 270. So I know that 1 is what I would start with, but then I have digits over here. So I'm going to start with 5. 45 times 5. I get 25, 20, and 2. So I get 20, 22, to 225. So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit closer. So I know it's not going to be 15. Let's try 45 times 6. So I have 30, 24, 25, 26, 27. So 45 times 6 is 270, and I get 0. So my answer would be A, 16. Number 10, find 198 divided by 22. So I'm going to set up my division problem. I know that 22 can't go into 1. It also can't go into 19, but it can go into 198. So if I look over here, I have 9, 8, 9, 10. Well, I know it can't be 10 because I can't have a 2-digit number up top, so I'm going to cross that one off. So I'm going to start with 9. It seems like there's 2 9s, so I'm just gonna see if 9 would work. So 22 times 9 would be 18, 18, 19. So it is 198. So if I times this by 9, I get 198 and 0, so I have no remainder, so my answer will be C. Now to number 11. Find 84,480 divided by 66. So again, I'm going to set up my division problem. So I know that 66 can't go into 8, but it can go into 84 one time. So if I times it by 2, it's going to be too big. So subtract 66. And I get 18, and then bring down my 4. So now I need to see how many times 66 can go into 184. So I'm going to try 66 times 3. I get 18, and I get 198. That is too large, it's 198. So I'm going to go down to 66 times 2. I had 132. So 132 is the closest to 184 without going over. I'm going to subtract. I get 5 and 2, and now I need to bring down my 8. All right, so now I can see 66 times 2. So I know my answer is probably going to be C, but I'm going to check. So I'm going to try 66 times 8, and I get 48, and then I get 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. So I do get 528. Sorry, I'm running into my other numbers. And then I'm going to bring down my 0. So it's going to be 8. So I need to make sure I have an extra place up here. I have a number up here. So I'm going to need a 66 times what? It's going to give me 0. So 66 times 0. And I get an answer of no remainder. So my answer to 11 would be C, 1,280. All right, 12. Tell which statement is the best estimate for the division problem, 185 divided by 61. So we're estimating again, so the best estimate. So if I look, what could I estimate these two numbers to? All right, so for this one, I probably want to round to the nearest 100 and this one to the nearest 10, but let's check our options over here. So I have A is 150 divided by 50. So 150 and 185 is a little too far away, and 50 and 61 are a little too far too. So I know it's not going to be A. I have 180, so that's pretty close to 185, and I have 60 and 61. So that could be one of my options, so I'm just going to leave that open. C, 1,800 is way too far from 185, so I know that can't be it either. And then for D, 200 divided by 50, so 200 is the nearest 100. However, 50 and 60 are kind of too far apart, so I know that's not going to be an answer either. So I'm just going to double check to see if B would be the correct answer. So if I change this to 180 and 60, I can cross off a 0, cross a 0, and then 6 goes into 18 3 times. So that does work out perfectly. I have no remainders for my estimate. So B is going to be the correct answer. 13. Just says complete. So 107 tens would be how many tens? So again, if I draw this out, I have 100, and I know that is 10 rods plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I have 10 plus 7, I have 17 tens altogether. So D would be my correct answer. 14. Find 183 divided by 13. So again, I'm going to set up my problem. So 13 can't go into 1, but it can go into 18 one time because 2 would be too much. And I know I have 1s all over here. I know the next one's going to be a 4 too, but we just need to check to see if we would have a remainder or not. So I'm going to subtract. 8 minus 3 is 5. Bring down my 3. So 13 times 3. 13 times 4, 12, 4, 5, 52. So 13 times 4 is 52. I have 1, so I have a remainder of 1. So my answer is going to be D. And then for the last one, 15. Find 1,510 divided by 29. 1,510 divided by 29. So I know that 29 can't go into 1, can't go into 15, but it can go into 151. So over here I know it's going to be a 5, and my next digit is going to be a 2 because they're all the same. We're just going to need to find what the remainder would be. So if I have 29 times 5, 5 times 9 is 45, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm going to subtract 145 from 151. So I know I need to borrow from here and add on to here because I couldn't subtract. So 11 minus 5 is going to be 6, and bring down my 0. So then 29 times 2. So I know this is a 5, and this is going to be a 2. 18, so I have 58. Subtract 58, and I have 2 left over, so a remainder of 2. So my answer is going to be D.